Hey guys, how you doing? Today we're going to be reviewing Fast and the Furious 9. It's nuts that this is technically the 10th film in the franchise. Obviously, the 8 previous and Hobbs and Shaw. It's in the same universe. As much as Vin Diesel and The Rock don't like each other, it is in the same universe. So yeah, now I was very excited. You might have seen my trailer reaction for Fast and Furious 9. I've been very excited for this film. Obviously, I love the franchise. It is the go-to action franchise, for me at least. It's just fun, and it has a very weird sort of story behind the franchise that is very unique to itself. No other franchise, in my opinion, has changed as drastically as the Fast and Furious films have. Obviously, 1 through 3 being very normal, just racing films. 1 having the not the entire, but the main gang, obviously starting the franchise with literally just an undercover cop in Paul Walker's Brian, and a story about racing and about honour and about friendship and family, which is what the whole series has lived up to, the idea of family, and obviously that's played into here as well. But yeah, these films go from racing films, and then as soon as it hits number 4, everyone says number 5 is where it gets nuts. People sleep on number 4. If you haven't watched it, go and watch Fast and Furious that came out in 2009. That is the one where it sort of goes into that more silly, fun, just stupid territory where they just have fun with it. And obviously Fast 5 is, in my opinion, the best in the franchise. 6 and 7 are literally up there as well. 8 was a little worse, but not bad. And Hobbs and Shaw was meh, in my opinion. It was good, but yeah. So, I was very excited for this film. The Fast and Furious films, no matter good or bad, are always enjoyable. And this one is not on the level that I hoped it would be at. Doesn't mean I didn't have a good time. This film entertained me throughout. And to be fair to this film, it did do things differently. In certain aspects, it just did the same old thing. But really, it took the time and effort. The writers put effort into this film to try and make it a bit more different, add a little backstory and a bit of lore to the universe. You would never have expected that. They've actually tried to put some lore and effort into the world building, but some of it really just doesn't work. So let's get into the negatives first, as I want to end on a positive because I love this franchise and overall I like this film. So yeah, let's do the negatives first. Okay, so the ridiculousness of this film is like a parody of itself. This film, as where the other ones have been, the ones that have been up there, like Fast 5, 6, 7, they've all been on that edge, that literally on the verge of being a parody of itself. But they ride that line so expertly and so good. They ride that line so well where it's just great. This film, you've probably heard by now. If not, this is a spoiler, so skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. They go to space, and it's been a joke throughout the franchise that, by the way, I don't mind the jokes about them going to space and all of that, but when it's on the screen, it takes you out of it. Because all I saw in that scene was just the writers listening to the fans too much and fan service. Everyone talks about fan service these days. It's been a massive thing when people talk about the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. It's a problem. Right, these writers have clearly heard the jokes of, oh, they've got to do space, blah, blah, blah. It's getting so ridiculous. We've got to do it, make them go to space. And they've bought into the hype and the fandom's fanboyingness and just ridiculous, stupid things that they've added it, and it takes you out of the film. It really distracts from that Fast 6 and 7 feeling of, yes, these stunts are ridiculous, but at least they're grounded just enough for me to take it a bit seriously. Not seriously, but I don't know how ground it more so that I can relate to it and I can still not have myself taken out of the film. I'm trying my best to explain this as well as I can. But when you watch that scene, you realise that this is literally just pointless. There's a scene early on in this film where Tyrese is standing and there's 20 billion guards or police, wherever they are in the world, just shooting down at him. After the scene's finished, you can see the bullet holes. You can see them all on him. Like, on his shirt. Not on his bulletproof vest, on his shirt. And yet he's just fine. And then, with his character, I did like his character in this film, by the way. This is negatives. It might look like I hate this film. I'm just going for a couple negatives, because I'm going to speak my mind. And I love this franchise where I have to give it tough love sometimes. So, there's an ongoing joke with his character throughout the film of, we might be invincible. Think about all the stuff we've done, all of the other films, like, we survived everything. And it's like the writers were in the room like, this is amazing, look, they'll love this. It's like, we liked it when he was just a character in one of the films, not the audience's, like, fourth wall breaker, like, object. He was a character, he was charismatic, he's still charismatic, he has his moments of laughter, don't get me wrong. But they played into the fan servicey side a bit too much for my liking. That's just me. Now, another thing you could say is negative is the amount of plot holes. It's just ridiculous. There's another MacGuffin with this thing. I think the MacGuffin stopped after that God's Eye plot in Fast and Furious 7. That was fine. It was fine. It drove the plot well enough. But this just feels so forced. And then the character that's now with Han, we'll talk about him just in a second, is now like somehow she's the key, not the object they've been after. It's just very, very convoluted for the sake of it, and it really just, it's too much. It's too complicated, and it really didn't need to be that way, in my opinion. Now, I'm a massive Han fan. Han is great. The actor is great, his performances have always been great, and yes, it was a bit disappointing the way he went out so quickly. I believe it was at the start of 7, which actually, it's weird because it's either the start of 7 or the post-credit scene of 6 or something like that, is with Jason Statham's Shaw killing him, coming after Vin Diesel, as a revenge plot from them taking out his brother in 6. So, it was a bit cheap, and we all were, obviously the main thing was justice for Han. That was the main trend, like, not trend, but everyone wanted justice for Han because his character didn't have justice. That is a fact. So, you've got one side of me that's very, very happy that they brought him back, and yeah, he's good in this film, don't get me wrong, he's sick in this film. Like, I really appreciate that Han's a badass in this. They don't bring him back and then do nothing with him. He has his standout moments, standout scenes, and really shows why he's crucial to the team and why everyone wanted him back in the first place. But the way they bring him back, it's fine, but like, they've complicated it so much now that I'm trying to think, if I watched all of these films back to back to back to back, as a Fast and Furious fan who knows these things off by heart, it's still, like, it wouldn't make sense. Han knew Mr. Nobody somehow, and he was doing jobs for him. What? Why? Why would he do that? It's just like, and then somehow that links to the MacGuffin for this film. These subplots, I'm only thinking of this now, these, not subplots, plot holes, is very reminiscent of Rise of Skywalker, and that is not a good thing. It's really not. All I'll say to end this negative section is, the plot holes come from overcomplicating the story, adding too much subplot type things that just aren't necessary. You don't need to do that. Have a basic outline. You've established the villain of John Cena, who's Jacob Dom's brother. We know that's ridiculous, but this film, think about it, it's not in the negative section, so you must know what I think about that. You have a basic idea. Just the writers needed a plot that just was a little bit more condensed, made a bit more sense, and didn't need all these complicated MacGuffins and little subplots. I get that we needed to get Han back, we need to do all these things, but it could have been done in such an easier, less stressful viewing point. From a viewing point, it's stressful, and it's just too much things going on. That could have been dealt better, but look, that's all I have to say for the negative section. That's just my opinions. Now let's finally move on to the positives. The action in this film is amazing. It is everything I wanted going into it. It knows what it is. Now for that negative section, it knew what it was, but it played into it too much and it made it laughable and really took you out of the film. The action is just what you want. The action is very, very self-aware. It's crazy. You've got the cheesy Vin Diesel lines that are just amazing to watch. Where he's in the... I'm not sure if they had it in the film, but they had it in the trailer where he's in the tumbling truck type thing and she's in the plane, Cypher, and he goes, "Not today." And then he jumps out, and it's just, it makes no sense whatsoever. And I love it, because it's just crazy. The magnet idea is very fresh and unique. It's really creative from a visual standpoint. Just looking at all of this mayhem of the cars flying everywhere. It's nuts, and I appreciate that. It's a cool idea, and it works for the Fast and Furious franchise. So yeah, the action is amazing. They play into the fact that Vin Diesel was still basically Superman. He literally falls. We see him. When this film comes out on digital and like Blu-ray and all that, I implore you to slow down the scene where he's locked the door to let Letty and that escape, even though he could have just went in and escaped himself. Whatever, we'll ignore that. But he locks her, gives some cheesy line that he would, goes back, fights like 20 guys, throws them into concrete, breaking concrete, pulls these chains, pulls the whole building down, and you see the whole concrete roof implode above him. And as he falls down and softly lands into the water below, these concrete bits, these concrete parts of the wall, somehow just don't land on him and don't affect him at all. It's hilarious. So yeah, the main plot of this film is actually centred around Vin Diesel and John Cena's relationship as brothers. Now, obviously, in the trailers, we were told this, but obviously at that point, we were still thinking this is so laughable. There's no way this could work, because it just makes no sense. They look nothing alike. We haven't seen anything about this for the last 8 films. It just wouldn't work. But then, I really did appreciate the flashback scenes to a younger Dom and Jacob. I thought they got the really good actors, that especially for Vin Diesel's, Dom Toretto. The actor for him as a younger person is amazing, very accurate, and I really like the way they explained it. Now, yes, it did take up a lot of time, because you can't just have a 2-minute segment setting up a relationship with Dom and the brother and just have us care. Obviously, we didn't really care that much. Like, it's just fresh in this film, and it's a Fast and Furious film, let's not forget that. But I didn't expect this much lore and plot and time given to really character growth and literally expand the love for the characters that we've known for these 8 films. Vin Diesel and Jacob's backstory is actually quite tragic and is quite sad, and I think it's executed as well as possible just for this one film to set up this whole relationship for their whole lives for just one film. I think it handles it quite well. The conclusion with Jacob is very interesting to me, because it makes me think he will return and be a part of the crew, or maybe not, but I think it leaves off at a satisfying point and is handled very well for the limited time that they had to do it. So yeah, overall, the film is entertaining. I cannot say I wasn't entertained. It was a bit slow. I forgot to say this in the negatives. The pacing's a bit slow at the start, but it quickly just picks up and picks up. Probably the most enjoyable part of this film is the massive action scene in Edinburgh. I just thought that was great. We see appearances from Jason Statham's mum in this, Helen Mirren, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that was quite fun. And we do get an after credit scene that I will talk about briefly now. So yeah, and I'm actually very excited to talk about this. So it's a spoiler. If you don't want to see this, then just click away. So this end credit scene is of Jason Statham's Shaw, and I was so excited and like happy that he was still in the franchise, because this could be bigger than we think. If you think about the scene on its own, yeah, it's fine, it's entertaining. Han shows up and it's like, what? Because we've seen that he killed Han. Obviously now we know, yeah, that didn't happen, although it did, but whatever. How's that interaction gonna happen? Because Shaw looked surprised. He obviously didn't know he was alive. So that's interesting. But why I say it's bigger than this is because now we've got Shaw, Jason Statham, back in the Fast and Furious franchise. This is him being welcomed back. Now, I would have thought Vin Diesel would have been very hateful of Jason Statham, because I'm not going to lie, Vin Diesel seems, I don't know him personally obviously, but he seems like he's got a bit of an ego. He thinks this franchise is all his, and was very disrespected and clashed with The Rock, because obviously The Rock is The Rock. Their egos clashed. They don't like each other. For any of you that don't know, that's why The Rock is not in this and went off and did Hobbs and Shaw. So, the fact that Vin Diesel has welcomed Jason Statham back, that could mean nothing. It could mean he still hates The Rock and will never work with him again. But if Fast 10 is the last one, I'm pretty sure it is, or it's Fast 11, you have to bring The Rock back. We've seen that, I'm not going to lie to you, and this is a fact, other than Hobbs and Shaw, which I thought was okay, every single other Fast and Furious film, 5, 6, 7 and 8, is better than this one. I'm not saying it's just because The Rock isn't here, but The Rock showed up in Fast 5 and he reignited the franchise. That is a fact. You cannot argue against that. No matter how much I prefer Vin Diesel to The Rock in this franchise, not like in everything else, but this is Vin Diesel's franchise. He started it and he deserves to be known as the guy of this franchise. I think it's crap that The Rock and him have fallen out. So I really hope they can silence their egos, maybe come to a term of agreement, just settle it, start fresh, and do the last two together, because that would be great. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But yeah, overall this film's entertaining, could have been better, hoped it was better, but it is what it is. So I'm going to give Fast and Furious 9 a 6 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts, what you thought of the film, what you'd rate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.